This whole video is going to work out if nobody comes into this very public space. Hey friends, it's your good friend Tim Campbell-Smith, and today we're talking about what do you even learn in photography school. I looked at a bunch of different programs, looked at a bunch of different schools, and something that was really important to me when I was exploring, education and what I would study in school was curriculum areas. I'm fascinated by curriculum, and this was really important to me. So I found though, every photography program I looked at, there were 4 common areas that were in the curriculum, and that helped me figure out like what courses do I like, what don't I like, what am I looking for more of, and I'm going to pass that wisdom on to you. Beautiful thing about this framework, and I don't know if photography schools were intentional or not in this, but it covers the essential areas that I think it takes to be a good photographer. So it's kind of well done like that. Before you go too far, make sure you like and subscribe for all things mental health, photography, school, and life. Okay, so let's start with the 4 areas that you're going to take all of your courses and do everything in photography school. You're going to learn technical skills, conceptual skills, you're going to have studio practice, and you're going to have breadth requirements or other electives. Now, before we go into that, it's also helpful to look at where can you get a photography education. For those of you who are like me and you're thinking about education or you're in education, you're going to get an education in photography. There's different ways that you can study photography. I mean, on one hand, you have, the free open source internet. So you have like Coursera, you have LinkedIn, you have YouTube. In a more formal setting, you can learn about photography through continuing education. So every college and university has continuing education. They may not call it that, but they all have it. So you can do it continuing education. You can do a college diploma, which is what I'm doing. That's 2 years. You can do a certificate, so you can do it in 1 year. Those tend to look and function more like continuing education though. Or you could do a university degree with a specialization in photography. And actually I should say with a degree, you're either looking at a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Fine Arts. It depends on the school, whether it's a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Fine Arts. A Bachelor of Fine Arts has certain credentialing requirements that changes how the program works, but you still do those 4 core areas of technical, conceptual, breadth, and studio work. All of this though comes down to, how much work do you want to do? What kind of credential do you want? Where do you want to go after that? Each of these 4 areas makes you a well-rounded photographer. So let's talk about what each of them are and what it looks like when you take a photography program. First, you have technical skills. And I would argue this is the first place where you need to start learning is technical skills. This is the act of photographing things, of actually choosing the right camera, the right lens, and actually getting the shot. I would also say this applies to editing. So your courses in the technical domain are going to look like intro to cameras, intro to lighting, maybe some color theory, and editing practices. In these courses, you'll be actually using your camera. You'll be given tasks and different things to photograph and different photography styles and figuring out how does that work on your camera with your lens, with different lenses, and then editing those photos. Next, I would say is studio practice. Studio practice is the second domain of expertise that you get in a photography program. This is where you practice everything. And I don't want to introduce the other 2 domains until we talk about the act of practicing everything. These courses, when you look at the curriculum, they are often labeled as studio courses, or in years later on in the program, they're going to look like experiential courses. So things involving a show, things involving display work, and actually practicing and displaying your work. A core part of these courses, from all the photography instructors I talk to, work off of this model of like, they'll teach you how to do a certain style in studio, you'll go shoot it, and then it will get critiqued. A big part of photography education is getting your work critiqued, but a lot of that critique is going to happen, especially when it's in front of you and it's not graded the same way that assignments are. It will happen in critiques in studio courses. And speaking of which, please note, it is actually super common in almost every single art program to have your work critiqued, and especially critiqued right in front of you, not only by your prof or your instructor, but by your peers. You've got to get used to this early and build up that resilience early. The third domain or area that you're going to take courses in photography school will be conceptual applications. So it's very concept heavy. Concept in terms of where you develop a concept, an idea, a theme, a message, and you practice creating photographic works of that. In this area, you're really going to get taught types of photography, styles of photography, and then you're going to bring it together in practice. In the previous domains, in technical and studio, you're being asked, like, can you capture it? How would you capture it? Now you're being asked to express and create in those areas. And that's what we mean by conceptual. This domain is much more about your creativity than anything else. In terms of courses, these tend to be the courses that are labeled by their type of photography. So I know in the Mohawk photography program that I'm taking, we have wedding and events, but then other programs I looked at, there was a whole course on food photography, on portraiture, on photojournalism, on commercial product or commercial spaces. So this is where it starts to get conceptual. And some of the conceptual work ties into those studio courses, which tend to culminate the whole program. And then finally, the final area, which isn't as neat and tidy, are your breadth requirements. Almost every program, everywhere, has these, except for like continuing education, those certificate programs where you only do courses in your area of expertise or what you're studying. But especially if you do the diploma route, if you do a degree route for sure, you're taking breadth requirements. So they may be additional courses related to photography. So at one university that I got accepted to, like, you have to take a history of photography class. In another university, there was like history of art, and you have to do art history. But then on top of that, they said, like, please take some social sciences, please take a natural science. So all of these can be summarized as the other courses. At my school, at Mohawk College, it's a lot of like arts and social sciences. So like, I know I'm personally interested in anything related to photography, like anthropology, which tells us about culture, or sociology, how people come together. Just look at those additional courses that are required. That's what we mean by breadth requirements, which I think makes you a better photographer and a better person if you have a better understanding of the world, how it works, and it helps deepen your curiosity in other things. I guess I would say maybe a surprise fifth category of courses, and I've alluded to it a little bit in studio, is your final display. In almost every photography program, you're gonna take some kind of course that is the culmination of all of your studies, where you show your body of work, what you are best at for the public, for adjudicators, other artists, and maybe some people you're trying to impress. This part of the program is very much like studio and technical. Can you get the shot? What kind of shot did you create? Overall, every single school follows this formula. In photography, when you learn photography in higher education, you are going to take courses that are technical in nature, that are studio focused, that force you to develop your conceptual skills, and then breadth requirements that make you a better scholar, a better human, and maybe a more curious or eager photographer. The courses and the course requirements may be different, but they all fit into these categories. Comment and let me know, do any of these categories surprise you, or would you add any categories to these? I think I would make it a little more common. One type of course I did see that was uncommon, and I kind of break it down into like studio and concept, is like business of photography, because most photographers are self-employed. So I wish there were more courses, and not just courses, but where you actually get to practice like running a business as a photographer. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about what you would add to a program like this. As always, make sure you like and subscribe for all things mental health, photography, art, college, university, life, you name it. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye for now.